Hi, my name is Sally Barnard, an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer. Welcome to Call Me Zena, a true story into the spiritual realms. Join me as I sit and discuss the journey of self-discovery, and with the help of my spirit guides, it's time to trust your intuition. Sit with me and call in live 888-994-4995 Studio A. And now onto the show.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. It's that time of the day on a Monday, and I have two wonderful guests sitting here with me, Dawn and Freddie. Okay, what I'm going to do, and I've started to do this recently, another excerpt from my book, because I wrote a lot of prose, so I'd like to I open the page at which one I'm meant to read, and I feel it's the right one, and I think you may relate, Dawn, to this one. I wrote this November the 2nd, and actually in the beginning I said sometime in October things were beginning to change for me. A lot of you guys haven't read my book, but I started to paint, but this was coming into a different way of my mind was telling me to write some of this down. So November the 2nd, I wrote this in 2006, so we're going back a while. What is going on within the mysteries of our soul? Are we here to understand? We are but mere mortals in this universe. Way beyond the stars, there are so many mysteries. We do not touch the surface. Must we judge? I think not. Look within. Our answers are all around us. Take time to smell the flowers. Look to the sky and way beyond. We are missing so much in this world as we know it. Look within, look beyond. We have so much to learn. Yes, go slow, my child. Forget the anger, forget the rage. Stop now and learn. We must forgive. We must forgive ourselves. We are immortal. That which was is. Zena. Well, at that time that I wrote that, I had no idea what I was writing. And during my journey, because this is a few years back, when I begin to read these, especially now on my show, at the beginning of my show, I'm getting much more of a deeper understanding. Just to mention, I do believe we are all on a journey, and we are all here to listen and learn and understand what's going on. We don't always wake up, as they call it, but we're still so many messages that we have around us. So here, welcome to the show, and here, Dawn, hello.
Well, happy Monday. It's great to be back. We've got Freddie's joining us also. Since I've been sitting here talking to Sally, I don't know what you opened up, what portal you decided to open this past half hour. My phone hasn't stopped. We got 2 more donations that just came in on Give Miami Day. People I don't even know. I don't know where this
I was saying that sometimes when we're talking deeply,
oh my gosh,
and
Sally.
I said we get interruptions, and as I had said that, then you pointed out to me that the phone was going so many times, which I was unaware of. I know when we were sitting over there, because I said, please see to your texts or whatever it was. Yes, yes.
5 phone calls. I just got 3 more emails of people donating, which is incredible, to Give Miami Day to the Amp Media Futures Foundation. And the more you're talking, the more things keep coming forward.
It works that way because, and as you had said to me too a little while ago, to be aware of what's going on in your surroundings, which actually was somewhere in what I just read too. Once you become aware, you see these things happening. You were aware because we had been talking about it, and you were aware how many times the phone had been going, or your messages. It works that way. Just if you open your eyes and look around, you see so much. You can have so much go by you, absolutely. But yes, there was a validation, Dawn, absolutely.
We were talking about your relationship with Aldo that I find, I'm always so intrigued by it because I've never met anybody since you, before you, other than you. I've never met anyone else that's had I call him a walking guide, that someone actually came to you and said, I know you, I know your dreams, and then they continue to support you and your growth for 18 years, not romantically, you weren't not married to this man, nothing, but truly as a guide, someone who came, it's going to make me cry, someone that came to help you.
And thank you for bringing that up, actually, because I, even today, don't fully understand the extent of what actually happened to me. But I think it's a good topic because there are other people out there, maybe not with the same story, but just to let you know that we are being guided. I was guided because I started to open up. Here I meet somebody who I didn't know. Maybe I'll open up a little bit with just the beginning, and then maybe people can relate or something may have happened to them. I had been working it was in the hotel business actually, for over a year. So there were many people around me. And I went into work one day. I was in sales, and I was getting my cup of coffee, and I'd had an experience, just to backtrack. I may be repeating myself because I have talked about it, but we have new viewers too. I had what I thought was a dream, but I knew it was a little more than a dream, that I dreamt that I was actually what they call, I was flying. I was flying around. I could see many things on the ground, and I could hear people talking to me, and even all these years later, it was very vivid. And I had someone give me a message that I was to go and get some crayons and start to draw. But it was just so real. When I woke up, I couldn't believe what had just happened to me. But it was like I had actually been there. But I thought, how is that possible? It was just a dream, but I was remembering every single detail of my dream. Well, I get up, I started work very early in the morning, about 7 o'clock, and I walk in and I'm having a cup of coffee, and there was someone behind me that taps me on my shoulder. And apparently he had been working there for a year, which was now Aldo. At that point I didn't know. And he said to me, "You had an experience last night." And I was still wondering what happened to me. He said, "I know," his words were, "I know where you were." And I looked at him and I said, "I don't know where I was. I'm still thinking about what happened to me." And he proceeded within the next few minutes, while we were having our cup of coffee, to explain in detail every single thing that I had experienced in my dream. Well, at that point, I'm thinking, who are you? How does that happen? Well, that was the beginning of my journey. He began to talk to me afterwards and tell me so many things. I started to draw. I didn't know that I could draw, and I'm drawing, and this may sound way out to people, but I know what happened to me, and I'm here to spread my word about this can happen to us. I'm drawing things from other lifetimes, signs and symbols, and Aldo was there all the way to explain for the next 18 years of my life what has happened to me, what is going to happen, and where I had been in other lifetimes. So that's just it in a nutshell, literally 5 minutes, I think. But
did you ever ask why me, or ever think to yourself, why me?
Well, I now,
in a good way.
Yes, in a good way. And I'm only, even now, although I've been doing the show here for 2 years, and I know that became very psychic. I was before, but it opened up a lot of things, as the show has too. Many things have happened. I'm here to tell people, Dawn. I can only talk and show people by example of what's happened to me. If someone had been telling me this story, it's hard to comprehend it. But I know what happened to me. I know that I'm drawing things from other lifetimes. I know that this man found me when we were talking, found me in a place where I was working, who understood so much. From a year old, he was reading a newspaper, and he found me to gradually open my mind of what we can do here and how important it is for people to know this, for the ones that are ready, not for the ones that aren't, because they probably wouldn't be listening to this show. But for the ones that are ready, it's so important to know that there's so much more going on, that we, it took me a long time to even now, I still don't completely understand exactly what happened to me, but I know it did. So by example, I'm here to talk about it.
Do you think that the acknowledgement of what you went through is a clear indication that we have to be more observant of, because we all have similar patterns, and we're not taking advantage of the fact of being aware of our surroundings, of things that are taking place until somebody taps you on the shoulder?
Yes, and it's very, very important, Freddie, and just to let you know that even with Aldo's teachings, which he taught me a lot, we would talk for hours and hours, he wanted me to be very aware, because I would be maybe watching a television program with him, not necessarily, a movie, or well, I would call a regular movie, and he would ask me during the movie, what color car was that person driving? What was the number of the license plate? Because awareness is very, very important, absolutely. And he taught me that, and I get away from it. I don't do this all the time, but I'm still aware of what I'm meant to be doing.
Well, he wanted you to be more aware of what was going on around you. And I think that a lot of people ask the question of, what does the future hold, or what does the past hold? And, you try to explain to them what you can see with what they say to you. But is it a common deal that your message is constantly being sent for you to look and listen to?
Yes, I mean, I'm not unique, and I will tell that to you anytime, anybody that asks me. We're all aware, we're not always aware, but we can all do what I'm doing. It's not always our time, you know, it was my time to open up. But I think my message is to tell people, definitely be aware, especially if you know, you can relate to some of what I'm talking about, of your surroundings, of the people that come into your life, because I don't believe that's accidental at all. The people that come into our life are the people that are meant to be coming into our life. So if we can become more aware of that and of our surroundings, we're going to have more happen to us all the time. Definitely.
Steve writes in, isn't it true that Aldo continues to be in your life even though he has transitioned?
Absolutely. A lot of the messages that I get are coming from Aldo, and I mean, things that I know are from him because he's giving me validations of the way that he used to give me validations. And one particular thing is by doing research sometimes on Google. And he'll say, he never told me who I was until I asked questions. And I still ask him questions. I'm still doing that. And I'll open up Google or I'll pick up a book, and there is the answer. So I hear him, but I actually see it written down. And Steve knows that. He sees that.
Yeah,
Steve is my husband.
Someone told me over the weekend, and it was Ashley who said it in Spanish, and it sounds so much better in Spanish, Freddie, than in English. So maybe you can translate. That is meant for you cannot be taken.
I love that. That's
She
right.
said it in Spanish. It was beautiful in Spanish. So
What does that mean to you?
To me, what it means is what God or the angels or the universe intends for you is intended for you.
That's why
Nobody else can take it. You can't lose it. You can't mess it up. It's yours.
It's yours. It's yours to own that. And by taking note of that and by being aware, which we were talking about, you're going to see these messages. Am I the only one that's getting messages when I look in at Google and see exactly what I'm meant to? Also, a friend that befriended me on Facebook, he has, I would say, thousands of followers. But I took note of that. I was watching and listening to his writings, which are very similar to what I've been taught and what I was drawing. Somehow he picked up on that, and we became friends. I don't know him, but it was even through just not knowing someone, they will come into your life, just like Aldo came into my life. It's there. It's still happening. Happens to each one of us. We just don't know it.
You think it happens to all of us?
I think so, but you have to be ready to interpret it.
But
right?
I think that's the trick. I think it happens to everybody. I think that Aldo came into her life to turn the light switch on. And the funny thing is that now she does it every day. And she gets sharper and sharper at it. You also have to interpret what it is that you see, you know, Sally? I mean, you see something, okay, it happens, but maybe it has a more significant meaning.
I do that a lot, Freddie. I don't always vocalize it, but yes, I do, absolutely. And Steve is aware of that too, because I don't believe anything that happens is not meant to be happening. And I totally, and I started to listen to YouTube and Gaia a little bit. As I was telling you, Dawn, in the very beginning, I didn't want to, what I was saying, I wanted it to be kind of clear in my head that I hadn't heard it from anything that I was talking about on a program, because it had more meaning other than Aldo giving me the messages. But today, recently, I've started to look at some of what I talk about, and other people are talking, and they react and talk the same way that I have already talked about. So now I'm ready to listen to other people. And there are people out there. It may be a small percentage of people, because that's their time to be ready to understand that, but they're out there. The more that I can open up people's minds, as I have myself, the more they'll see it happening to them too.
Do you think other people besides you, and I know I feel it, like your life is a puzzle piece, and certain things make sense, and then you look at your family and you're thinking, like, where did I come from? And then you meet someone who's this huge puzzle piece, and all of it seems just to make sense.
Yes, absolutely, because that's how we're learning. We're on a journey, and especially our family they play an important role, though we don't always see that, because we get, it touches us harder to overcome these obstacles. But I truly believe the more advanced you are, which you have been in other lifetimes, when you come in, you're going to get more, I'm going to say, problems to solve, basically, because you're ready, because we're on this journey and you learn more. And a lot comes from our family. It can be distant family, but it does, because it has more meaning. It touches you more. I say walk away, but it's very hard to walk away from family, and that's the reason that family plays a very big significance. However, having said that, we have a soul family too. So we meet people that we come down into this lifetime, and they are around us too. And you feel that instantly. You know that you've been either in another lifetime, if today many people do believe that, much more than when I first came out with this, that you've known someone before. You can have an instant liking, or you can have a dislike. Karma, maybe that dislike is coming into this lifetime. But if you're open and you're aware of what's happening, you'll recognize it. If you're not, you just walk around again and it can continue happening, but you're not sure what's happening.
Sally, if you are able to acknowledge the fact that there are messages for you to interpret, does that then lay out the groundwork for a better, more happy future?
Absolutely, Freddie, because it gives your life more purpose and more meaning. So you don't just go, when something, and it gives you gratitude too, because I know with myself, I'm very grateful today for what I always have, because it hasn't been easy in my life in a lot of different ways. But today, the more I'm aware of this, I give thanks to that. When I was going through it, I probably didn't understand that, but you go through things to be aware of it and to have gratitude. And you can say I'm getting so many things happen to me, and my way of thinking is, okay, it's happening, let's turn a negative into a positive. So the more you're aware, the more you're realizing what's actually happening in your lifetime. And it makes life more interesting.
But then how does it affect your life when you meet other people? Like when you got married, or when you date somebody, or when you meet somebody who's sick and you become a caregiver? How does it affect you? How does this information affect that?
Lessons that we need to learn, because if it's not that one person, and you may walk away from that type of situation, if you have not learned it, somebody else will come into your life that's very similar, maybe a different type of whatever it might be. But until you learn that lesson, and I'm absolutely convinced of that, you will keep repeating it. It'll come back into your life, and it'll go into the next lifetime too. And I've been saying that because that's what they're telling me. I'll turn the TV on now to something on YouTube or Gaia TV, and I'll hear exactly what I've been talking about. So that's my validation, because I don't know who's listening to here, but I will hear it and see it. So I get the validation. But you have to be aware, which we were talking about before the show. Very much aware of that. Otherwise, it'll just go over your head and you won't understand it. Makes it interesting.
I just don't want people to think that it's only something that you are aware of simply because there's something at stake for you at the end.
No.
You still have to put it together. It has to make sense to you. And then sometimes you'll see the truth. Doesn't mean you're going to like the truth.
Exactly. And many times you don't, Freddie, but at least you're putting it together. And then I believe, I'm a great believer, that it will come back again. But if you can learn from the first one, and the second one comes back because you haven't learned completely from that lesson, it will be repeated again. And as it goes on, it gets easier. But we don't stop there, because something else will happen. That's how we're learning. It's a learning process. And then you graduate slowly. It takes many lifetimes, and there are different vibrational energies that come into our life on a different level. So the more, we call this the 3D dimension, so the more that you're on this 3D dimension, it's sorting out basically what we need to learn. And it takes in our time, because there is no real time. It's all happening right now. Again, that could be another show. But you're going to graduate eventually, and you'll go to the 4th or 5th dimension, which is also another show, which I am learning much more about today. I mean, when I first started and people said, well, are we in the 3rd dimension, graduating to 4th and 5th? I really needed to understand more of that. And I put in the work, and I put in the understanding, and I get my answers. And do I have all the answers about the 4th and 5th dimension? No, but I started my journey about it. It's vibrational energy. We are energy.
Which is interesting. And if you think about your life, one of the lives that I know, you know who you are in that
Yes.
lifetime. So as a soul family, many of us were together in that lifetime.
Absolutely, because we come in, not all of them, some are on the other side or are our guides or our helpers from other lifetimes that they actually help us from a different, they're in a different dimension, so they help us. But yes, we arrange, and I believe this, and I've heard many people talk about this, before we come in, that we're going to meet at a certain time. Well, Aldo, going back to Aldo, came into my life when I was obviously ready to understand this. He could have come in when I was a child. Well, literally, he met me. But we need to have a little bit of the background to open up. Otherwise, we don't know what we're opening up to. Are we
no
just
idea.
here wandering around? I don't think we're here just wandering around. There's so much more to this. So much more.
Well, that's what makes the fabric of life so interesting, because everybody has a different fabric. And having to find your true bearing and your true calling is always interesting. Well, the part that I love, that intrigues me, is that you find someone who actually taps you on the shoulder to remind you it ain't over there, it's over here. And then you go on your merry way. Now, Aldo, he went on, he died, correct?
Yeah, he transitioned. Well, I call it transition but that's just a minor thing. About 2 years ago.
Was he ill?
No. But before yes, he was ill a month or two before, I would say about 6 weeks before he passed away or died. But he he was in my house most of the time, but he had gone because he had to go into hospital, which is the first time in those 18 years I'd ever seen him sick. And he went to live in Port St. Lucie, but he came back to talk to me. And I think he knew he was going to die within the next few weeks, and he explained to me in detail what was going to happen when I died, but he was talking about himself, and he would definitely be there to greet me. And a few weeks later, he died, so he was letting me know.
But was he talking to you about him, or was he talking about you?
I think he was talking about himself. However, I probably wouldn't have wanted to hear that he was going to pass within a few weeks. So he's telling me that he will be there for me when I pass. So he was putting it into like a third party conversation type of thing. And within the next 3 weeks, he died.
And have you ever met anybody like Aldo before Aldo?
No. I say no, I've never met anyone like Aldo. I have not, no.
So nobody in your life prior to that ever told you some of the things that he said to you?
No, never. He told me that I knew these things, that I'd had another lifetime prior to this where it was dormant, that I didn't want to be bothered with what I'm talking about today. But he told me that I already knew that from a lifetime that we have talked about, where I understood all this. And it was in this lifetime that he knew that I was ready. So he was here to help me. And then there are many not coincidences, but without going into the person that I'm talking about, because I don't know whether he wants to talk about it, but you guys know the story, that I met someone here at the Brooklyn Cafe, and I told him that about Aldo. So he told me he had someone very similar in his life for the last, I don't know how many years, but I'm guessing about 10 or 12 years. And I mentioned Aldo's name, and they were from the same country, which is Peru. He talks to this person who is his spiritual guide, who is still around, who knew Aldo. And I meet the man here in the cafe, and this man knew Aldo and his family from Peru. They were both from Peru and knew each other. So I've had many stories, many, as you guys know, of these things that I can't imagine that this wasn't real in my life today. It happened. He was here to help me open up and to be his mouthpiece. That was one of his last words to me.
Do you still feel his presence now?
All the time, all the time.
And what is it that he's trying to get across?
He wants me to give my story of what happened to me. He told me that I would even know, this is hard for me to fathom, but he said to me, I'm your teacher and you will know more than what I know, because he realizes that I was getting into another vibrational energy. I think he just told me that. I don't truthfully know if that was accurate because he knew so much. But he wanted me to open up to so much more because he realized it was my time to open up to this. And if there are people out there, things that are happening to them, I guess I just want to spread this word that we're in chaos right now in this world, and it's not necessarily changing the subject, but there is light at the end of this tunnel. And I'm learning a lot more about what's going on in the world today, which I know he's giving me messages about that. And we could go several different ways, which also could be another show. But I'm getting a lot of messages about the world and what's going on in this world, because it's, you know, it's not good, but sometimes out of bad comes good too. So I don't want to get into too much of a negativity, but we need change. Our lives, everybody needs change in their lives, and that's what Earth is going through right now, which is another topic, I know, but it's going through a change. But out of bad will come good. That's
maybe you're not to be his mouthpiece, but maybe you should be your own mouthpiece.
Yes, and he's here to guide me with the messages that he feels that I already know, and I can't deny that because of what I've been able to do when he told me that I could, type of thing. And he never guided me into other lifetimes. What happened is I started drawing from that lifetime. So I'm putting it down from that lifetime, and now he can open up a little bit at that time and tell me, you know where that was? And I would say, yes, I believe it was this or that, and he would tell me it was. Because going into the internet, because it was a place in history that is documented, which I didn't know about, and I'm reading a lot of what I'm thinking, and actually even seeing the rooms the way that I saw them. I put it in paper. So how in the world could I ever deny this? I can't. And I'm here for people that want to understand that as much as I'm understanding it.
Does it make sense to you, or who you are now from then?
100% today, absolutely. And I'm on this journey, and I will be till I transition and pass, or whatever words we want to use. It's all the same thing. We leave this dimension. I'm here to do that. I'm here to talk. I'm here to be at the cafe and talk to you guys and meet the people that I'm meeting here. You've seen it, both of you. How many people walk into this cafe that have the open-mindedness, actually, just the open-mindedness of what we're talking about, that relate to this, that do things similar in this field. I mean, I didn't know you before I met you till I came here, but it's kind of got more since I've been here, right, over the last 2 years.
It's like a song, I didn't know you before I met you.
Yes, that's true. Well, I did know you before I met you, but I had not met you in this lifetime. Yeah, but it's true. I think we just got a time for a commercial.
You ready?
He went like this, so I guess I should know after 2 years that it's time for
and invite people if they want to come in and share their stories.
Please, I mean, if you're local or even as far up to Jupiter, right? Please come into the Brooklyn Cafe. I'm not sure, I come here nearly every day, and I'm not sure of the exact address. But it's
2400 Northwest Boca Raton Boulevard, Suite 13 here in Boca.
And please come in on a Monday and join my show here and be a member of the audience here. Or if you can't do that, 888 999. Oh my God, I know this. I know it.
888-994-4995. Studio A. And if you don't want to be on camera, you can share your story with Sally, and then we'll talk about it.
Absolutely. And I've had people actually that I've spoken to said they don't necessarily want to be on camera, and I know that too, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but you might want to share your story, so we're here to listen.
And to learn.
And to learn, yes, I love that. So we'll see you on the other side of this show in a few minutes. Thank you. My story starts at 4 or 5 years old. My name is Sally Barnard, and I was born at the end of the Second World War, in the middle of an air raid siren going off. My parents were in a movie theater, and my mother went into labor. My father ran out of the movie theater, but there was no cabs to be available because everybody is running for cover. However, they found one, and the taxi driver was given the address to take my father and my mother to the hospital. As my mother was in labor, about a half an hour, I arrived at exactly midnight. I think I was fed messages at a very early age. My parents used to like to play cards, and they had a card game every Wednesday or Thursday night at home when I was a baby. And I actually said to them one day, why do you keep waking me up at night? The card game is waking me up, and I can't get back to sleep so quickly. And they looked at each other and they said, we're not really waking her up. They were quite away from my bedroom. And they called in a psychic to say what in the world is going on. And the psychic said that I'm getting many messages that are waking me up at night. I thought whatever I was experiencing, other people were experiencing too. You don't know until you realize that you are different. Many things were happening to me, things that were unexplainable to me. What I had dreamt was happening. I could sense many things, and the things that I was sensing were coming about, but something was going on. I will explain to you everything. You're ready.
A True Story, Call Me Zena is the telling of Sally Barnard. Born in London, England at the end of the Second World War, she came into the U.S. in 1979. A mother of 2 and a grandmother of 4, she settled in Florida and worked in real estate. While going through a difficult time in her life, she was admitted into a hospital overnight in December of 2005. While settling back into her life, she began having vivid dreams and documenting them. By the 3rd dream, a lady gave her a message to draw. With no artistic background or interest into art or history, Sally listened to her dreams and grabbed a paper and crayons. Today, she has over 150 pieces of inspiring art and poetry. This book follows her journey and interpretations of these messages. She describes in detail how she is able to astral a project and who she has met along her travels, including her spirit guides. This book will show you how anything is possible with an open mind. These events have changed Sally's life and direction, and this book will show you how to change yours. Purchase Call Me Zena on Amazon today, authorhouse.com and amazon.com.
Thank you for joining me through this journey of self-discovery with the help of my spirit guides. I'm Sally Barnard, and you can find my book at authorhouse and amazon.com or visit my art on my clothing in my boutique at artbysallybarnard.com. Now back to the show. Welcome back. Hi. Questions? Anybody that wants to call in, please ask me. And Freddie.
We were just talking about off the air interpretation of what goes on. It's an interesting perspective because sometimes you think that something occurs and it's not for the good. And if you look at it from both sides, it ends up turning out to be for the better because it enhances what you should learn and what you should do. And it doesn't matter what age you are. You know,
and as you're saying that, I'm getting that message very loud and clear because it's making you aware. If everything was going smoothly, you're not aware of what you're meant to be learning. But when you get an obstacle, let's call it, in your life, or something that you need to actually really attend to, you're very aware of that. So now you're doing something. Whether you feel that it's you can't, you're still thinking about it, and you will eventually, be it good or bad, get the answer to that. Hopefully it's always good, but it's not always good because that lesson has to continue if it's not good.
And for people that are looking for their own spirit guide or they're looking for help, if you look at our country, our world, there's so many people that are suffering right now, and they may look at us and say, they think that's a problem. Look what we're dealing with, type of thing.
Exactly.
So I guess it's about maybe gratitude of what we have.
Which I don't always remember what I talk about, but since I'm still in that state, I know I had talked about gratitude. Yes, it's very important. From wherever you are, there's always something to be grateful for. Just being alive, actually, is gratitude. We don't often say that, but we've given ourselves this opportunity to learn in a very difficult world right now, very difficult. So and there are ways to change it. I'm learning that too. I'm not going to change the whole world by saying think positive or see what can be good. But if we start even at a very small part of this journey to say to yourself, be great, just look around and be grateful. And that's very hard for people that absolutely are going through the wars, the bombings, these horrendous things. But they're learning too. I mean, I can't say they're learning. It's hard, and it's hard to say they're learning, but I believe every one of us is learning. I can't say when I've mentioned that this is a choice because you're not going to see that, some of the things, and I understand that. But basically, we do have control to a certain extent of what happens to us if we're aware of it. Can we change it? I do believe eventually, yes, we can. We're ready, we can change it. And in a collective, as I would call it, in mass, if we want world peace, I think one person at a time, just say, let's do something about what's going on, because ultimately, it's all in everybody's minds, there could be another war. Let's try and send positivity into the world today to stop the worst that could happen. Whether it works or not, let's just try it and see.
You know, I'm seeing that now since we've been working with the foundation, and someone told me last week, you have to ask for what you want. Like, really, if you want someone to help you, you have to say, can you please help me? Because if I just say, Sally, this is what's going on in life, and I don't ask you for help, you're not going to know I need your help.
And I so totally agree with that, because one of the hardest lessons for me, and I came to this country with very little, it was so hard for me to ask for help. And even today it's still hard, but I'm aware of that. And I'm not the only person. Some people, well, my son probably may or may not be listening, but he has the same problem. And he said, but isn't everybody like that? No, not everybody is like that. Now you can keep asking, that's also not necessarily good, but we have to be aware that if we need something, ask for it. The worst that can happen, whatever we're asking for, the person or whatever it may be might just say no. Okay, but at least we asked.
So I'm finding, since I sent out that second letter, people are donating money to our Aunt Media Futures Foundations to help our interns. I don't even know who some of them are. And it was just a simple act of asking, or they found us somewhere. But
because if you didn't ask, where would they even find you, Dawn?
And I literally had to say in the newsletter, we need your help. Please donate today.
Perfect.
Because I could have sent it out like I've done before without a call to action. And they're like, that's lovely. You're doing so many great things. But when I realized how hungry our crew is, if I could bring in lunch every day, if I can ask Chick-fil-A to send in food.
Right, right.
If you don't ask, people don't know you need help. I
And
think that's my lesson of the week.
that is the lesson, absolutely, because people are not going to help you necessarily if you don't ask, because they don't know what you need.
Right, because on the outside, this looks like a smooth running ship. They don't realize that we're working with folk rehab and different hours and people getting different rides to come and go, or they're hungry, or they've got diabetes. I mean, there's so many things here that now I have to make sure that people in here who have diabetes, and not just Freddie, that there's food for them if there's an emergency. Now we have to go make sure we've got these glucose shots because, heaven forbid, something happens.
Go into a
right?
coma,
So things that go into a workplace that whoever knew when I met you that this was going to be where we're at 10 years later.
But the messages are around us. It's taking notice of that.
So what do you think those messages are?
The message that you're getting right now is that you do need help in many ways when you're getting your answers to the people that are working here. And I know a lot about diabetes because my mother had diabetes and she had a lot of complications because she did not look after herself. So I'm very aware of that. But now that you tell me that, I'm aware that people here have diabetes. And so
I feel like that's your calling of the studio lately because you've put it out there so much to bring awareness to it. More people are coming forward, and I'm like, and here's someone else for you to guide and watch over.
Well, the thing is that I live it, and today I get to meet a young man. He's very young, who is a type 1, and I get mixed emotions because a lot of this stuff is what we inhale, what we take in, what we eat. Unless you're born with it, then there's nothing you can do about it, and you have to work it backwards like he was. But the object of the game here, Sally, I think it has a lot to do with listening to your body, listening to your guys, listening to what's put in front of you. And I think that the biggest fear is actually admitting that there is something there that you should listen to.
And absolutely agree with you about that, Freddie, absolutely, because we are the first person that has to admit what's wrong with us. I mean, it's rather like someone that has an addiction. If they don't admit it, and sometimes actually verbalizing it, they know they have a problem, but it has more meaning when you start to talk about it and can relate to other people with that same problem. So again, really the show is awareness, absolutely is awareness. We are aware, and we have to be aware of what's going on, be it your body. And we'll get messages, because over the last few months, I believe, and I'm not recommending that people absolutely go for doctors for what you need. I'm not saying anything about that you shouldn't. However, there is another way also to heal yourself. And for me personally, I truly believe in, and if you don't agree, that's fine too, there's an alternative way of healing yourself. And I'm very, very much into that alternative way. And I've been trying to tell Steve this, if he's listening, and just try another way. You don't have to do it, but believe that there is another way. And show after show, or whatever we turn on, or whatever I've had listening, even my show the other day on that Friday with Dr. Nancy was about alternative medicine. So again, I'm not promoting anything here. It's up to it completely. But I believe in alternative medicine. And I'm doing a show with a lady that I'd never met, and he happens to be sitting there in the where we were, listening again to alternative medicine. Mm-hmm. So your point will come across, even if it's not you saying it, it'll come from somebody else. If just to keep, basically, I guess the answer to this is to keep an open mind of what anything that's going on around you. You'll get the answers.
You will. It's like, I hear what Dawn says, and if you don't ask, you're not going to receive. You can't live in a world of denial and say, there's a lot of reason why people don't do the things that they should do. Sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's ego, sometimes it's a combination of both.
It's lack of not even knowing or understanding it,
even that,
knowledge.
Even that. But if you look closely enough and common sense takes a part and 1 and 1 becomes 2, you too can change your life. You can reach out and try helping somebody, just helping somebody getting through the day, saying a kind word, saying good morning. I think I said in the morning show that I was talking to people that I've never met. I got over 5,000 followers on Facebook. And I took this morning to say good morning to all of them from the Brooklyn Cafe. And I sent our picture. I got all of them back saying good morning. I didn't know the show.
And I can't believe you're even talking about this, because Aldo must be visiting you too right now, because he never even went into Publix without opening the door for someone, and everybody, especially the cashiers there, he'd always have a nice day. How is your day going? So much so I used to be embarrassed. I never went into Publix with him, but I see what he was doing, because he has to be telling you this, because it is so important, because you don't know what that other person may be going through. And just a smile to say hello is passing your message on to someone, even if it's just for them to say hello to somebody. And that's what basically we're talking about too with the world today. Believe that we can change this world. We can. But I believe we have to do it en masse, because it hires people's vibrational energy. We're in a very difficult time, and for people to ignore that, it's not good either. We have to accept that, but we also know that you can change it. We can. Hopefully we can. Well, we can, but we've got to believe it. Just I said hopefully, so obviously I wasn't sure. But, we all have our doubts over things too, yes. And that's how we learn, right?
And you should talk to people. I went to Costco to pick up some meds, and I found a food that they have for adults that have diabetes. And then next to it, there was something else, and I asked the guy, he looked like he worked out and everything else, have you ever tried any of this? And he told me no. He says, I came over because I see this, and this looks really, really interesting. And I had a conversation with him, and then he had a conversation with somebody else. And somebody else had a conversation with somebody. Next thing you know, 10 people there were all trying to figure out whether or not this was good. And I was the only diabetic among them, but they were all into exercise and stretching and everything else. And at the end of the day, everybody bought one.
Did you buy one?
That's how it works.
I bought one.
What is it?
It's the beef jerky thing.
Oh, okay.
But this thing has no sugar, has no carbs, has nothing, has a lot of protein.
Before, yeah.
It's the only one that they have. Everything else has sugar in it and grams of carbohydrates. This one did not. But the funny thing is that the only reason I bought it was because I talked to somebody I never met.
But that's how we just don't open our eyes to the fact that it's going on around us all the time. because we are guided. Each one of us is guided. I happened to see one of my guides because he was here. But I'm not unique in any way. So they sending us people. I don't believe, and I actually read this the other day or heard it, that nobody that comes into our lives is an accident. It's not an accident, not by accident. We may not stay, we could just brush shoulders with someone or say hi. But now when I think about it, I won't mention the story now because it's rather lengthy. When I was at an airport in Detroit, Michigan, where my son was living at that time, and way before I understood this, but well, tune in next week, we'll talk about it. But something amazing happened to me at the airport, and it was early in the morning. Well, now I've gone this far, I don't know.
I may as well tell the whole story.
Yes, I may as well. But this was way before I understood what was going to happen to me. But I was getting things happening, but I wasn't aware of it. And I'm at Detroit Airport, which is a busy airport, but it was empty because I was flying back to Florida, and it was like 7 in the morning. So there weren't that time, I'm going back a long time, that many people in the airport. And this lady, she comes and sits next to me. And she's got her suitcase because she's got a carry-on suitcase, and she starts talking to me. She asked me where I was heading for. And I said, Florida. She didn't tell me she was coming to Florida. And she said to me, oh, and we're having this conversation. But she was put there because I get on the plane and you are allocated a seat. It wasn't like sometimes that. And who do you think was sitting right next to me on the plane from the airport? This lady. But didn't stop there. She proceeded to pull out a book. Oh my gosh, I'm getting goosebumps. This is a long, long time ago. It was The Meaning of Your Life. And she's reading parts of this book to me. And then she said to me, she was visiting Florida. She wasn't from Florida. Gives me a list of people that I should contact here in Florida. I never told this story before. I thought, yeah, right, okay. And I have the list. I had the list. And she gets off the plane, and I never saw her again. But my goodness me, if you think how that happened, I didn't know many years on that would have been an important list for me to look up the people that would be teaching me. But then again, I didn't expect Aldo in my life either. The signs are around us. I have a prose in my book about that. The signs are all around us. We may not be ready at that particular time, but when you are ready, and this has absolutely happened to me, all the things that have happened to me prior to me opening up when Aldo came into my life, I had had many situations. That's just one of many of people that came into my life to guide me. I mean, think about a lady sits next to me in the airport and then is on the same plane, not only on the same plane, has the seat next to me and talks about this. Happened on a train going to Washington too. That
Imagine if your name was on that list, if she finds it.
There's people that taught a lot of what I'm understanding that Aldo began to talk to me about.
There was a little girl at Costco and she was having a pizza. Her mother was feeding her. And I knew that the mother was having a hard time because she couldn't manipulate the cart, the pizza with the child, and the child. So they stopped by where I was picking up my meds, and I turned around and I asked the little girl, can you hold on to the pizza? Can you show me you can hold the pizza and eat it? So the mother quickly said, no, she's never going to do it. I've tried this 100 times over. She doesn't do it. And the little girl took the pizza out of her mother's hand and ate it. So the mother looks at me and she says, this is a first. And I go, you know, growth from being a child to being an adult has a step. And when you take that step, you go, and she says, she just took a step. She looked at me, she said, and then she tried to get the pizza back from the girl. I said, no, I got this. The little girl said, no, and she kept it.
So you were her teacher at that point in time?
I wasn't her teacher. I just asked.
Yes, but you actually did teach her something, Freddie, so that wasn't an accidental
I didn't teach her anything. I just
well, you helped her along the way.
It's what Dawn said. If you don't ask.
You don't
the
ask.
mother never asked.
No,
never asked.
That's very true. It's very true.
Took it for granted that it was
Not
the mother that had to
everybody reads
feed
our minds. So,
but I think as women, we're taught that we have to be independent.
Yeah.
We have to not ask because we can do it. Because for all these years, men always did and never asked, right? So never saying that on the other side, the women didn't cook and clean and take care of the house and work or whatever they did. You never had to ask. So we've learned never to ask.
Yeah,
but
this is
if
true.
we don't ask, then people don't know. Because now it's a bigger ask. Now it's not asking, can you hold the door for me, right? It's asking, like, you really need help. This mom clearly needed
help.
She only had 2 hands. She couldn't do it all with 2 hands.
Exactly. And we get these opportunities thrown at us, or we with other people happens all the time. We just don't take notice of it. We're not aware. So I think awareness is very, very important, because although people come into our lives, we go into other people's lives for reasons too. So
awareness
it's
is very important.
awareness is it's opening up.
Timing, awareness, all of these unique things that we endure every single day of our life. You know?
It goes back quickly to my story too, when I was walking along the beach and I was hungry, and I mean, you don't forget these things, at least I haven't, and I was walking on the beach and I wanted my breakfast, and I didn't have any money. I had some money, but I didn't have it on me. This was shortly after I came here, and I went in the water for a minute, and I go like this, and a $5 bill came floating by. I think I write this in my book. You can't make this up. It's ridiculous. But at that time, you could get a nice breakfast for $5. So what did I do? I went and got a nice breakfast.
Do you always hold faith?
I do today. Did I always? No, absolutely not. But I've had too much happen to me. And I mean, Steve has seen all these things that have happened. I'm not special. I'm on my journey, and I've opened up, and I've been very fortunate enough to have the people in my life that see, as we were just talking about, what's happened to me. I can't say an obligation, because I like doing this, so I can't feel it as an obligation, but to spread this word on to people, to make anything in this life today, we make it a little easier, and we're happy to be alive, which we all should be, very happy to be alive. Many people are saying, oh, why did I come here? Even people that understand they don't want to come back, even if they believe in reincarnation. But actually, to put this in a positive way, Earth is a wonderful place to understand and carry on your journey, because it's difficult. It's very difficult compared to other planets. We are one of the hardest. They call it the school for hard knocks. Is that what we say? Right. I don't know. We don't know if we say
so
that
Earth is different, you think, than other homelands?
It's different. Yes, it is different, because we have a lot of things to overcome here, and we come here to learn that. Other planets, from what I understand and from what I've been listening to too, are a lot easier because they're on a higher frequency. We're on a low frequency. 3D is a lower frequency. But we chose to come here to learn. We will graduate. Again, everything is happening at once, and I'm beginning just slightly to understand that today, because we don't actually go anywhere. And that's another story, but I can, and I'd like to maybe talk about that maybe on the next show a little bit. Very hard to comprehend in a low density. But there are people on other whatever we call them, off-planet people, aliens, whatever we want to call them, and they are among us, that have risen their vibrational energy and are able to understand more, and they can see more than what we see here, because it's like a fog. We're really in a fog here. We're walking around hoping that things will work out. Well, let's stop hoping and let's have action. Let's call for action for people to begin to just, even if fake it, we're going to be so happy, everything is going to be perfect. But you have to believe that it will be, that you see a future. We need to do this. And I think people like myself that are talking this way have to start really doing this right now, really doing it right now. Because there is a transition going on with Earth. Within the next few years, it's going to be a lot different. I'm not talking politics in any way whatsoever, so I'm not referring to politics, but it is going to be different.
You were asking on the midday show, why are those beings outside of Earth now appearing?
Do we have
or
time?
Why are we seeing them? Yeah, we have some time.
Why are they revealing themselves
which
now?
I'm happy to talk about. From what I understand, absolutely they are showing themselves, and there will be disclosure, and you have heard that from other people too, within the next 2 years for sure. But they're showing themselves. They can't absolutely come on the show right now and say this is where I'm from, because it will be chaotic. But they're gradually introducing themselves because they're very worried. Because this is not a secret, we have nuclear weapons right now. And I heard this the other day, many of the spaceships or whatever have been shown and see them over the nuclear plants. If we blow ourselves up, and it's no secret that that could happen, we could do that, and my show is positivity, so let's send it away. But they know this, and it will affect their planets because it's going up into the atmosphere. And actually, somewhere in this book, I believe I wrote about that, not knowing any of this. And I said it will interfere with their planets. So they have an ulterior motive, not only for ourselves, but for their planets, because going into the atmosphere is where their planets are, in space, wherever they are. So they have a really, really good motive for showing themselves and helping us today. Not people are scared of aliens. Yeah, there are bad ones just like us. But the majority, I believe, that are showing themselves are here to help us to help themselves.
Interesting.
It's just so funny because you look at the way it's revealing itself now. Maybe they've put out enough technology that, like you said before, we don't even realize they're hiding in plain sight, and we just weren't aware enough of it to see it.
Well, today, because we have cameras everywhere, you think about that. It's another thing I was reading the other day, because I'm getting a lot of messages, and I do believe it's Aldo, but there are other people. We can take pictures of these things. You don't have to say, oh, I have to rush home and get something. All you do is you pull it wherever it is. We've all got, well, not everybody, but most people have a camera on their phone, right? Just take a picture of it. And there are too many sightings today, because now is the time that we really, really need to know. It's not taboo. I feel that I don't mind talking about this at all. It's really important, because people are beginning to understand this more and more. Because we have to change. We do have to change. And they can help us, which they have been for years with technology. Think about it. Last 50 years, how far have we come with technology? I mean, are they getting that themselves? Yeah, they're brilliant people like, what's his name, the iPhone?
Elon Musk. And,
yeah.
Yes.
But, and I'm not saying, because I can't talk about someone that I don't know, but a lot of this technology is coming from off-planet to give these people messages, to show them how we can advance. Because 50 years is not very long to have suddenly you show someone a small little thing, and you could, even talking on a phone. I used to say, I don't know if I'd want to see somebody on a phone because I might not have my makeup on. But today, it's FaceTime or Zoom or anything. It's happening. It happened. So that's what they're doing, the aliens today. Technology, hear about reverse technology, which is coming from another planet. That's all it is.
Imagine opening your phone one day and getting a message from
an alien? Imagine an alien showing up here.
Well, I have on my phone, on my mirror.
That's true, you did.
Yeah, I do. I have a picture that my camera took a picture. I was asleep at 2 a.m. On my camera, I'll show you, on my mirror in my bathroom, because I had.
That was Steve.
No, he couldn't believe. Nobody could believe it. I know that it's on my. It's a green line going all the way down. I think I showed it to you.
You showed us.
Yeah. I didn't take that picture. What woke me up was the flash.
Lord.
2 a.m.
Amazing. Ready to wrap this up?
Yes.
All right. Hopefully you enjoyed our strange show today. Okay, please tune in next week. Please call in, or please visit the studio if you're local. You'll have a great experience here, and you'll meet Freddie and Dawn and myself. On a Monday, I'm here a lot during the week too. So please come into the studio. We need to talk about that more often. We need to have a lot of the local people coming in, which we do from time to time. Thank you. See you next week.
You have been watching Call Me Zena with your host, Sally Barnard. As an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer, know that you can always seek me out for resources by visiting artbysallybarnard.com. Join us next week, Mondays at 2:30. Have a blessed day.